morning, friends. It's me, your buddy, Gabe El Tape. It is Wednesday, January 12th. Happy to see you here. I've got two great guests today. One of my old friends and one of my new old friends, Mike Barron and Chuck Dixon. I want to pick their brains and talk to them about where did this masculine action that I love so much. You guys know I'm into it, man. Defending your heritage, defending your father and everything he built for you. I love my Rambo, my Van Damme, and now Charles Bronson. I finally saw Death Wish last week. I'd never watched it. I dismissed it as some really, near 50-year-old movie. Probably wasn't any good. And I watched Death Wish 1 and 2, and they were fantastic. So welcome my guests, Mr. Mike Barron and Chuck Dixon. Hello, gentlemen. How you doing this morning?
Hey, guys.
Hey.
So where are you? You're down in Tampa, Chuck, and then you're still obviously in Fort Collins, Colorado, Mike, right? How are things in your regions, Chuck?
Good.
Okay.
It's a little chilly today, so I had to put on a long sleeve shirt.
Poor baby.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we laugh at you, Mike, because I'm in San Diego, and you see I'm wearing a hoodie because it's about 60 degrees, so we're freezing here. That's freezing for us. In San Diego, blazing hot is 77 and freezing is 60. We don't like it when it gets away from 70 degrees or 68 or so. So Tampa's the same or no, Chuck?
Yeah. The weather's a little nicer in San Diego, but we're okay. But I'm sure Mike is under like 6 feet of snow, right?
Well, we were. I mean, it snowed a lot, but then it's been in the 40s and 50s. But the street is still covered with frozen chunks of snow because they don't plow the side streets here. Cheap sons of bitches.
There's your infrastructure.
There you go. Yeah, my dad lives in Greeley, which is just about 40 minutes from Mike. And he was telling me it was pretty bad the other night. I was on the phone with him. It was in the single digits at night. So I'm glad to live here. I was telling someone yesterday, I can hit the ocean by throwing a rock from my house.
Nice.
If I could throw a rock like 3 miles.
Oh, okay.
I like to throw people off with that one. So you're two men of action. You write a lot of manly, tough, gruff stuff that I love. Everyone knows me knows I love 90s and I'm starting to kind of turn more to 80s action. I grew up on 90s action, but holy cow, some of the stuff from the 80s is even more carefree and outrageous.
Oh yeah.
And then going back to the 70s, I finally watched Death Wish last week, and I loved it. Did you guys see that in theaters when it came out, like in 73 or 74, something like that? Did you see it in theater?
Yeah. Everybody saw it.
Okay, so it was a hit at the time then.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, it is a savage, brutal movie. I mean, because there's the assault scene with a young Jeff Goldblum, by the way.
Yeah.
That's right.
He's the sexual assaulter. I'm going to tell the people Jurassic Park what he's done. And it goes on a little long with the mom and the daughter being assaulted.
Yeah, well, that's Michael Winner for you. I mean, it's a grindhouse movie. It really is.
Yeah,
definitely. And so at the time, how was that received? You know what I mean? That sort of brutality on screen.
I saw it in Boston. Hello, Freddie. I saw it in Boston, and everybody I knew was ecstatic. They loved it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I saw it with a bunch of my high school friends, at like a matinee, packed house.
Right.
And people standing up screaming, "Shoot the son of a bitch!" So
right.
Yeah, it was and this was a weekday crowd.
Oh wow.
So yeah, people went nuts for it, because we saw the rising crime rate. I mean, it's a mirror of what's going on today.
Yeah, okay. Because I'm 43, so I wasn't. I mean, I was born in '78, but I wasn't, consciously remembering anything from the '70s. But when I look at the news and the history from them, it seems like major American cities, especially like New York City, things, they were just rotten to the core with crime and prostitution and muggings and all that. Was that real, or was that just in the movies and the media, or was that really happening in major cities?
Well, it was really happening, but compare that to what's happening today. I mean, it was like a love fest back then.
The movies never really. They do a pretty good job in the 70s, but they don't show the whole picture of 70s New York. I mean, when I would go up to try and get jobs at DC and Marvel, I'd get off the train and there'd be New York City cops handing out a pamphlet called Fear City. And it was printed by the cops. And what Fear City was, it had a skull and crossbones on the cover. It was just a Xerox pamphlet. And what it was a map of the city telling you where not to go after 9 o'clock, where not to go after midnight, and where to never go.
Wow.
Because the cops felt their budgets were being cut just like they are now. They were being defunded. There were less cops, and they thought they owed a duty to the American citizen to let them know, hey, you're visiting New York, you're coming to a jungle, and there's only so much we can do to protect you. So you got to watch your own ass. And there's stuff like the South Bronx. Some of the gangs in the South Bronx were using dynamite to blow down abandoned project buildings.
What?
They just wanted to create playgrounds for the children.
Yeah. In that Billy Joel song, when he sings "They blew the Bronx away," that's what he's referring to.
Really?
They were actually blowing buildings down.
Oh,
it looked like Berlin.
I thought he was talking about his cocaine stash.
No. So it was bad, and the public knew it. We were all experiencing. We're all feeling.
Compare that to San Francisco today, where they hand out a map showing you where the human feces is.
Right. Yeah, there's an app you could get, or at least there was an app telling you where the poop mounds were. So that's wonderful. I fell in love with San Francisco in 2009. I was a guest at WonderCon, and it was beautiful, the city, and the restaurants were amazing. And we stayed right by the Tenderloin. For those of you that don't know, that's near some bad neighborhoods, but we'd never been there before, me and my wife. So we picked a hotel kind of in our budget. At the time, we didn't have much money. And I thought San Francisco was amazing. And I'll never go back there, I don't think, because it's degenerated completely. I know there were bad things there when I went. I remember in the middle of the day, one guy told me, my wife, and my kids were small at the time. They were middle schoolers. And he said, don't go on, I think it was 6th Avenue. He's like, when you go across that one, you walk there, get across it fast or don't go on it. And when we walked down that street, there was a drug dealer. There was a guy with his pants down taking a shit in the crosswalk. And then there were just guys shifting around that kind of looked like they were up to no good. And it was funny how it changed from one street to the next to the next. Yeah. Sure enough, that guy was right to stay away. I think it was 6th. I don't know the area that well. But San Francisco is an absolute war zone now. So I don't know. Have you guys been there, or what was your experience?
Not in a long time.
No, I've never been, but it just makes me cry to see what's happening to these cities that I love, to see what's happened in New York. I mean, I'm from Philadelphia originally, and it's always been a rough town.
Right.
But man, it's horrible. I mean, they're burning cop cars in front of City Hall, and I mean, that's only a couple of months ago they were doing this, and it's insane.
And who do we blame for that? Well, who called for defunding the police?
Yeah,
every Democratic politician.
Yep. So it's the same situation that created Death Wish is what's going on now.
Yeah, I mean, Death Wish has that, what happens in Death Wish, for those of you that haven't seen it, it's an excellent movie. Go and check it out. It is brutal, though. It's not for the faint at heart, at least nowadays. His wife was getting her groceries delivered home to a bodega to their apartment in New York, and Jeff Goldblum, who looks like he's 20 at the time, and 2 other hoodlums, they hear about it, and they're like, oh, she's pretty or whatever. So they steal the address that's written on a piece of paper, and they go to the house, knock on the door, and say grocery delivery. And they go inside and like assault and rape, and the wife ends up dying. Spoiler: it's 40-year-old spoiler, 50-year-old spoiler. But that sends Charles Bronson on a one-man rampage to basically kill everyone that jaywalks in New York City.
Yeah.
and the catharsis there. I've been married 25 years. I have 2 children in their early 20s. I love my wife, and as a man, you do have that urge in you. That if someone comes into my house or comes into my village and hurts my people, well, then it's going to be go time. We all, for time immemorial, men, we have that encoded in us, right, guys? I mean, is that how you feel about it?
Yeah,
I believe that's true.
Yeah, it's a knee-jerk reaction to want to get even. My dad lived by the credo, I don't get mad, I get even. So, so he was an unreconstructed hillbilly, and I think I kind of have that in my DNA.
And you, Mike?
I'm a South Dakota Jew.
What does that mean?
Well, my grandparents, believe it or not, homesteaded in South Dakota, and that's where I grew up. I mean, I lived there since I was about 6 years old to 16 years old. Those were my formative years. And some of my best friends, I'm still in touch with them, from Mitchell, South Dakota. So, and Mitchell is a small town. It still is. It's 12,000 people, and they didn't have much crime.
Okay, yeah. So South Dakota homesteaders, that would be like Charles Ingle and the whole Little House on the Prairie clan, right? Because they were in De Smet, and then they were in Walnut Grove, Minnesota, and all that. So really, the agrarian life for the barons, huh?
Well, my dad had a women's clothing store, but all my friends, uh, it was a small town. My best friend's father was a doctor, and other friends that taught school. Some were postmen, uh, and a couple were farmers. And one of my friends, whose dad was a farmer, he eventually became the sheriff of that county.
Really?
And his name was Tom Kippis. Nobody gave Tom shit because he was built like a refrigerator. I mean, he was just a massive man.
Well, someone has a comment here. Reynolds Rosa. Have you seen the remake of Death Wish with Bruce Willis? I can't believe someone remade that movie. I saw it and I didn't like it. It was missing all the grime and the grit. It was too flashy and too modern. I mean, it was a 2018 movie, but it really was missing that patina of filth that New York City has on it. You know what I mean? In the 70s.
Yeah, it was not memorable. I have it here at home, and I'll be happy to give it to anybody who wants it.
Yeah. And if you go on Amazon, like I did after you see the first two Death Wish movies, and you're really excited and you want to get them all on DVD, make sure you don't get Region 2.
Yeah.
It will not play in America. So I didn't open it, so I have to send it back. So I'll have to wait to see Death Wish 3. And I'm very excited to see it because I saw a review of it, and apparently he gets loose with a crew-served 30-millimeter machine gun where his buddy has to be feeding him the belt. Let me show you that really quick. This is what made me want to watch Death Wish 3. He's running around the Bronx with a crew-served machine gun. So it doesn't get better than that, guys. That's amazing.
They kept escalating throughout the whole series.
Hey, in writing, they teach you it's rising action, right?
Yeah. I think Death Wish 8 he would have gone nuclear. So.
He would have been riding like Dr. Strangelove, riding a nuke to the ground like Dr. Strangelove.
Gabe, if you can find a print of The Evil That Men Do, that's a good Bronson film. It's very memorable.
Okay. Oh, I'm going to have to go through his entire oeuvre, as the French
say. That's about Bronson versus Dr. Mengele in South America.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I saw that at a grindhouse when it was on release, and it was the cause of the best shout out I've ever heard in a movie theater.
Let's hear it.
There's a scene where Bronson's up against a couple of guys like in a restaurant, and he shoots them both with a shotgun. He hits the one guy in the chest and bowls him over a table. And then Bronson goes around to make sure he's got him. And you see the guy has a bulletproof vest on, and he's getting up to shoot Bronson. And Bronson literally blows his head to pieces. And a guy in the audience says, should have been wearing a motherfucking bulletproof hat, motherfucker.
So was it a South Dakota Jew guy that said that?
No. I was probably the only white person in the audience. So this was a grindhouse in West Philadelphia.
Right. We're going to get to this super chat. But my favorite line so far, I've only seen Death Wish 1 and 2, and I can't wait to see the rest, is one of the murderers in Death Wish 2 that he's after. He catches him in an old warehouse doing a drug deal, and the guy has a big cross on. And he goes, "You believe in Jesus?" And the guy's all, "Yeah." He's all, "Well, you're going to meet him." And he shoots him right in the heart. Immortal Coil for $5. Thank you so much for the super chat. He says, as Punisher creators, please talk about Chris Kyle and Kevin Lakes, Navy SEALs whose use of the logo struck psychological terror in the enemy. Who wants to field this one first for our fan here?
I am proud when military and police use the Punisher symbol. I have no problem with it. I encourage them to do so.
Yeah, I think it's fine by me, no matter what Jerry Conway says about it. It's obviously meant as a symbol of respect. So right. If they had the Batman logo or Superman logo, same deal. But Punisher seems more on the money, especially for military.
Yeah, it's also a psychological tool.
Yeah. I mean, you got these guys fighting in, door to door in Fallujah. They can wear any freaking thing they want.
Yeah, my buddy Rocky Francis is his real name. We call him Rocky. He did about 7 or 8 tours in the recent conflict in the early and mid 2000s. And the things he has told me, I'm not going to repeat them here because that's his privacy, his stories. Unbelievable. Doesn't sound true. I know he's not lying, but my God. And he was in the Army. He rode in the Strikers. The Strikers are those big vehicles and they go door to door. They're door kickers, man. They kick down doors looking for, Al Qaeda or whatever insurgents. And what he's told me is insane, So let me ask you about that, because we talk about Jerry Conway, and I don't know him personally, but I always wonder how men can go decades living for a long time and they remain like genteel. And where did this is a huge
It's
question.
Hollywood, Gabe. It's job insurance.
The movie, it's funny. You see, Death Wish is just a bunch of shooting and a dumb plot. No, it's not. There's a deep thing happening in Death Wish on a psychological level, because he's an architect and he's from New York City and he hasn't fired a gun in years. He tells the guy when he goes down to Texas to get away from it all, to go do the assignment down there after his wife is killed, he meets a guy who's in a gun club and he owns 1,000 guns. And this is a shot from that scene where the Texas guy with the big cowboy hat is like, just try it. And he's a deadeye because he was in the Korean War and all that, I believe, in the story. But he's kind of hints at he's a New Yorker. He's against these gun nuts. He's smart. He's an architect. He's got a nice apartment. He's living that cosmopolitan, more left-wing life. And I wonder, in culture, and this is such a broad question, for you guys being much older than me, what happened to masculinity? When did that start to deteriorate, where it was frowned upon to be a footballer, to be strong, to lift weights, to say fuck no when someone does something, to be the one brave enough to stand up to the crowd? You know what I mean? When did that go away, and what made it go away? This is a very broad question, but either one of you can field that.
I think that most of the world evil hovers under the banner of the left. And this is what the left does. They target an institution. They infiltrate it. They gut it. And then they wear the corpse as a disguise. And we've seen it in education, politics, entertainment, and politics. And there's one I'm missing.
Entertainment, right? Entertainment, education. Yeah.
My wife asked me the other night, what happened to all the men? Where did all the men go? And I said, well, I blame public school system. That's where it started. And we have 2 sons, and they are grown men. They have real jobs. They work with their hands. They know how to do stuff. And they homeschooled. My wife homeschooled them. They didn't go to public school. Right. And I think that's where it starts.
Adam Miller is a police officer. He's a very good painter, and he's contributing to the Thin Blue Line book.
Oh, and he's got our comment at the bottom. I painted the Punisher skull on my vest and wore it under my uniform every day for several years.
That's cool.
Very cool.
I like that.
Now, what he's not telling us, that was his uniform at Knott's Berry Farm, where he was playing Daffy Duck. No, just kidding. I'm assuming that's military or police service. So thank you, Adam Miller. So I can't help it. But yeah, it's a puzzle to me, because I was raised by a World War II veteran, my grandpa, and then my dad is a Muslim from Libya. So we don't do any nonsense in my family, like any feminism or any nonsense like that. So to me, it's puzzling to see men who are groveling, sniveling, virtue signaling. They don't ever say what they really believe. They say, oh, the right thing so I can win approval from the group around me. How the fuck does something like that happen to men? We're supposed to be the ones to stand up like Galileo and say, no, the sun is the center. You know what I mean? Say, like the Wright brothers, no, I can make a machine that flies. Fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, that's definitely the American way, if not the Western way. Why are men being so afraid of being judged by the group?
Well, I think that when you point out the American way and the taming of the frontier, that's an anomaly in history, and human nature doesn't change. And that's why Orwell is able to predict what's happening today, right down to the punctuation. Right. But Cicero predicted it as well. Human nature doesn't change. And this is the path of every successful republic. They become strong and independent on the strength of men, real men who do things and have the freedom to do things. But then the politicians come in and take over. And as I always say, most people have their hands full doing their job, taking care of their family, and kicking back on weekends. But there is a certain class of person that spends every waking minute scheming how to get control over others. And now those people have seized control of all our institutions.
What do you say, Chuck?
I can't argue with that. I mean, that's what's happened. I mean, and people are, they've given in exchange for security, particularly in our industry, in the entertainment industry, because, a couple of people can get you ruined. There's nothing easier in our business than to get a bad reputation. You get one quickly, even if it's undeserved, even if it's a total fiction, you can get a bad rep, and then you don't get any more work. And so people are scared. But me and certainly Mike have never been afraid to voice our opinion. It's never been, oh, I got to think about my job. It's like, no, what that guy just said is bullshit, and I'm going to tell him it is. The hell with my job. I'm not even thinking about that. My opinion is this is still America. You can still say what you want. There's always been consequences to free speech. I'm willing to pay them.
Right. Yeah, I think you guys saw me join your ranks in a big way this last fall.
Yeah. You sure did.
I just couldn't live that way anymore. It was just bullshit. They just and I get mad at myself mostly. It's like, okay, DC Comics, Marvel Comics, it was like 90% normal, fine, not hating America. And then it was like 70%, and then it was 60%, but it wasn't my books. You know what I mean? So I didn't say the right thing at the time. Well, it's not my book. It's those stupid books. And then eventually it came home to roost on me, and I had to tell myself, this is what you get. You didn't want to say anything. So now the American way has gone from Superman. You didn't want to speak up earlier. So that's what you get. So I guess lesson learned from me. I thought I could put my head in the sand and just stay on that side, and they weirdos would stay over there. But, that's never how they work. You give them an inch, they take a mile. So,
yeah, I mean, I did my best, like when I was in the Batman offices, because I had some juice there. I did my best to hold the line, But once Denny was gone, the floodgates opened and all the weirdos showed up. So
let me say hi to the chat real quick, and then I want to get back to that thing with Denny with you. All kinds of people here now. Pasta Master Dan, Adam Miller, Leg Kick One is always here. Hervoye, our nice mod, he's putting links in the chat there. He's got Mike's Nexus. He's got all kinds of stuff. Hervoye, Chuck Dixon has stuff with Arthaven, and he also has books on Amazon if you want to find links to those. And anything else you guys want? Because he'll go find links for us and put them in live. Anything else? Oh, the Thin Blue Line from Mike Barron, of course. We'll get to that. But Apex Comics, GK1, Past Master Dan, all kinds of great people here. Thank you guys for coming in. So you were talking about Denny. And you mentioned something last time I had you on that was very curious to me, and I thought was interesting. We were talking about, when did society change? When did we get away from men that were men and would go do the right thing regardless of the personal cost? But in comics, you told me you saw it change, Chuck, personally, when these weirdo male feminist fans started becoming editors. And they quit putting primo talent on the Westerns and on the romances and all that because they were obsessed with superheroes. And that's what killed the other kind of comics. So about when did that take place? And can you describe that a little more? And also, Mike, did you see the same thing happen after Chuck responds here?
Yeah, I mean, I started to see it in the early 70s as a comic book reader, that these new names were popping up, and they were mostly interested in superheroes and superheroes alone. And then they moved in, they were freelancers, and then they moved into editorial positions. And I saw that the war and the Western titles and stuff began to erode as they didn't care about them. They hired inferior talent to work on them. And, when that happens, readership's going to fall off. Right. Readers aren't stupid. They know what's good and what isn't. And so they were, indifferent to war and Western, and those titles began to fail. But what bit them in the ass was they were their biggest selling titles.
Right.
And so there was a big implosion at DC. And they had to fire a lot of people, lay people off, a lot of people out of work. So they didn't learn their lesson. They just doubled down on superheroes even more. So, and it was like walking away from that, the more masculine, casual reader kind of comic they had.
Did you see the same thing, Mike, or were you not into comics yet then? Or?
Oh, no, I did not notice it in that way. I really didn't enter comics until the 80s. And Denny was my editor, too. And I interviewed him once late in his life, and he said, I can't help but think that the protests of the left throughout the 60s and 70s have laid the ground for the chaos that we're seeing today. Denny said that, and I have the interview. I still kept it, and we've reprinted it a couple of times. But Denny never interfered with anything I wrote, and neither did Archie Goodwin or Carl Potts. No. And then I fell out of the ass end of the industry in the 90s through nobody's fault but my own, because I didn't know how to manage a career. I still don't.
But Mike would give assistant editors shit, like piles of shit. And they would complain to me about it. Why is he so nasty? Well, you fucked up, and he called you on it, right? But
Right.
what happens is assistant editors grow up to be full-time editors, and they never forget. And I think that was Mike's.
Well, we're at least 5 generations beyond those editors, but the editors they're choosing just seem inexplicable to us. I mean, they're just people who have no idea how to tell a story and just come in with a big agenda on their shoulder. And they think the whole point of the comics is to shove their agenda to the reader.
Yeah, no, the worst one in recent history, I don't know if you guys know this beauty, was Andy Curry. He came over from Comics Alliance, which was a complete communist left-wing SJW comic book review website. He was like an editor-in-chief over there. And Brian Cunningham hired him not knowing what a dangerous person he was. It's like a Trojan horse. And he's the one that he put Vertigo out of business single-handedly. He put out all those shitty SJW Vertigo books like 3-4 years ago. He also hired like 3 or 4 people that were involved, allegedly, let me say that, lawyers, with some sexual harassment, assault stuff. One I know for sure took a picture of his asshole and sent it to Ethan on Twitter for everyone to see. That was Robbie Rodriguez, who I think DC is employing him again. So that goes right in line with Kevin Fujihara, him having to step down from sexually assaulting, and poor Eddie Berganza with his mess and all that. And there's a reason Andy Curry's involved with people like that. I'll get to that one day. Hi, Andy. I didn't forget, buddy. So, yeah, you'll all see. So, yeah, he was the one that opened the door for Zoe Quinn. She was that woman, that insane woman behind Gamergate and all that nonsense. He had her write a book that I think sold about 700 copies. And yeah, letting these ideologues in instead of people that just, as Mike Barron always says, the first goal is to entertain. That's all we're trying to do here is tell people, I love this and I'm excited about it. Look at it. That's all we're trying to do. And yeah, I do think the ideologues, they took down the business quite a bit. So where do you see it going from here on that front? Do you see it turning around, or is it going to burn all the way down and something new will rise from the ashes?
Well, I think trade comics are doomed, and they've been talking about stopping publishing all their titles for years now and just farming a few out. But the flip side of that is the world of crowdfunding associated with Comicsgate, which is exploding.
Right. As you know, on a personal level, Mike, let's take a quick interlude here. Look at when I brought you on this show, Mike, like a month or 2 ago, you were barely at $9,000.
Yes.
You crossed 50,000. So congratulations. I'm so happy.
Thanks, guys. As I, last week, Saturday afternoon, Fox and Friends phoned me and they said they wanted me on their show Sunday morning. I didn't sleep Sunday night. I was so nervous about it, but I was so enervated in the morning that I didn't feel any nervousness at all. So I went on and I said my piece. And after that, the Kickstarter started to blow up. It was like watching a slot machine.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So you got over 50 on Indiegogo, which is fantastic. And then Kickstarter, you said you've raised about 30 there?
Let me take a look here. It just happens to be here, 32,000.
Oh, he just keeps the tab open, Chuck, so he can keep looking at it.
Of course.
How fun.
It's compulsive. Compulsive.
Yeah,
You got to watch it.
I'm excited. Me and Dave Williams, we got our book launching the end of February called Truth, Justice, and the American Way. That's literally what we're calling it. It's
Cool.
our version of a return to classic heroes. Like,
and I would love to work with Dave. And I'm working on a book called Private America, which is everything the Punisher should be and isn't.
Right. Yeah, me and Chuck are working with Dave on something for Graham Nolan's book, Two-Fisted Manly Tales.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm in that book too with Butch Geis. And speaking of where the manly stories are, that's going to be in Graham's book.
That's right.
Seriously, all in one place, distilled.
Here's a good point from Son of Liberty Radio. Mike Grell's Green Arrow was a lefty, but he was a man, and that was a good book. Proof they can do a good book. Exactly. If character and adventure and story arc and entertainment come first, of course you can tell stories about leftism and diversity and all that. Those people are real. They deserve to have stories told about them. But entertainment must come first. Do not preach to people. Nobody likes it, right?
Mike Grell is a veteran, and when he entered comics, he was already well along. He wasn't a teenager. He wasn't in his 20s, so he'd lived a little and he understood life.
All right. Oh, here's from Leg Kick One for $2. You guys can, whoever wants to take this one first. Any experiences working with Shooter? Now, I think we're talking about the great Jim Shooter, a legend in the business. Anything interesting there?
Never worked with him. I know Jim.
Yeah, I was when I was at Marvel, I was in Larry Hama's corner of the building where Jim never went. And I didn't write superhero stuff, so he didn't care about me. I probably didn't even know who I was.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've never had an interaction with him. It was before my time. I think when I got into collecting comics when I was 13 or 14, I think he had already started Valiant Comics, or he was the head at Valiant, right? Like in 91, 92 or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where I saw his name. Yeah.
No.
Hey, Apex wants to know where the Fox and Friends interview is. It's on my Facebook page, the comics and novels of Mike Barron. So please go over there, take a look.
Yeah,
Sign up.
Hervoye, can you put that in the chat? A link to Mike's Fox News interview, and that's on Mike's Facebook channel. If you wouldn't mind, Hervoye, I really appreciate it if you could throw that in there.
Wow, you've got people.
Oh yeah, go. Hey, it's you guys got people, baby. We're doing this together. And I love that we're all working together. What you don't know, Chuck, is that Mike got me into comics. I
Really?
met Mike Barron at the comic book store in Fort Collins when I was a college student, and I had seen his new book, The Detonator, which is an analog for The Punisher. And I flipped through it, and Mike didn't have a colorist. They just dumped in some random colors. And I thought, well, I can color better than this. So I drew a picture of The Detonator. I wish I could find it on my hard drive. I'd have to really dig. And I brought it to Mike, and he's all, I got a job for you. I'm like, oh, he's going to let me color the book. He said, you have to draw issue 3, and you've got 3 weeks to do it. So Mike just pushed me into the swimming pool, and I'll never forget it, and I'll always be in debt for that. And we worked on a bunch of other fun projects, and eventually I got hired by Jim Lee over at Wildstorm because they needed a new colorist. So that was my way in. So, yeah, Mike got me my first real gig in mainstream comics, drawing an entire issue of The Punisher, which was who inked that? It was Mark Stegbauer, right, Mike?
Mark's a very fine inker.
Yeah.
But I just want to mention that Gabe and I have plans to work together again.
Yes. Yeah, David Williams gave me a great seed of a story, and I pitched it to Mike on the phone, and he loved it. So say nothing yet, Mike. Yeah, and let me show my stuff since I have you on here. I was talking with David Williams this morning about stuff, and just so you guys know who David Williams is, let me open this. Open with preview. I'm doing a book called Truth, Justice, and the American Way. It's our version of something like the Justice League by me and the great Dave Williams. And if you want to see Dave Williams' art, here it is. Let me open this real quick. I just went to his Instagram and grabbed a bunch of art. David Williams has been in comics since the 90s, like the early 90s. He worked for Rob Liefeld on Supreme. He's done like Wolverine, everything, Marvel, DC. He worked at Cartoon Network forever. There's a great Punisher Wolverine commission he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dave Williams is out of this world.
Oh, no, super artist.
He's currently drawing Bass Reeves for Allegiance.
Right. I'm the colorist on Bass Reeves.
That's
I love how
right.
everything here is connected. But so if you want superhero stuff like this, if you want action, if you want the sexiest women, if you want Charles Bronson, like out of control violence, but for justice, that's what Dave and I are going to bring you. We're going to bring you back fun, action-packed heroes. And we're launching it. I'm gonna get the mailing list going on Ethan's show this Monday, probably, because Dave is working on character concept art. I wrote all the character descriptions for the main 12 players in the story. I've got the plot written out. I'm gonna run it by Mike and Chuck. By the way, guys, I'm putting you on the spot. Since you're expert writers, I want to run it by you, my script, and you can tell me what sucks. And then Dave and I are coming. So that's what Dave's work looks like. Here's what Dave and I look like together, and then we'll get back to Mike and Chuck really quick. Open with preview. Here is Dave and I together. If you want to know what the book will look like, this is our artwork together. This is how I color him. This is Bass Reeves. He is who the Lone Ranger is based on. He's a real historical figure. Fantastic. It's a fantastic father and son story from Allegiance. You can get these at any Walmart. And it's written by Kevin Grievous. He is the creator of the Kate Beckinsale vampire werewolf movies. Underworld?
Underworld.
I think he plays one of the giant werewolf guys in it.
I think
in the first 1 or 2 movies. And Kevin is a great writer. This is a great historically based story. But if you're wondering what Truth, Justice, and the American Way is going to look like, illustrated and colored by Dave Williams and myself, this is what you can expect. So you're going to get top flight art, and you're going to get that 70s, 80s, 90s Marvel and DC, not the current stuff we don't like. So that's me and Dave. Truth, Justice, and the American Way is coming. We're going to launch that late February. Let me get this out of here so we can get back to where were we, gentlemen? Because I kind of lost my place where we were.
I wanted to say that Dave, right now, right this minute, is working on my Viking story for Two-Fisted Manly Tales. So
Two-Fisted Manly Tales for Graham Nolan, and I will be coloring that. So,
oh man, yeah, I just talked to him the other day about it, so he had some questions.
Yeah. So, GK1 says Allegiance needs to make their books into collections because Walmart don't carry them outside the U.S. If you go online, I'm going to ask for Voya to look this up again. I know there was a Indiegogo campaign launch Kelsey Shannon and Ethan did last week for one of Allegiance's book, Norse Saga. And I think I'm not speaking for the Brightwisers. I'm just guessing here. I would assume they'll collect the rest of them. I'm just assuming that. Don't quote me on that. But
Norse Saga. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
They just shipped the Saints GN. Oh, here it is.
Mike worked for them too. We're all working for the same great people. This is fantastic.
Yeah, that's a good book, Mike.
I
got my copy. That's a good one.
That's from Allegiance 2, and that's written by Mike Barron. And that's what is that? Is that like Indiana Jones meets
Yep. It's about a secret group of archaeologists who are trying to protect the world's undiscovered sites from creeps like ISIS. You recall they went into Afghanistan, blew up those Hindu temples, and also from grave robbers and opportunists.
Right. So if you like that, I would, if I'm guessing, if you like the Da Vinci Code, if you like, let me make you big on the screen here, Mike. If you like the Da Vinci Code and Indiana Jones and Tomb Raider and all that, Uncharted, that video game series, all that spelunking and secret conspiracies and all this puzzles and treasure maps and all that. If you like that, right, Mike, that's what's in there. A lot of high adventure. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, and this art is off the hook.
Yeah, it's a great action story.
Christian Rosado.
And one thing about National Treasure is what about says.
Yeah. That I thought of that too while I was reading it.
Right.
And we thought that was bad, Nicolas Cage, but we really had no idea the depths of the story.
It's so bad now. It's wonderful. It's so bad.
King KDI has a little note for us about Allegiance collecting books. I can't confirm this. This is just a comment in the chat. Do not quote me on this, but he says Mitch, I'm assuming Mitch Brightwiser, will collect the rest as that distribution with Walmart seems to have fallen through. It's on Mitch's Instagram. So I can't confirm that. There's just a comment in the chat, but that'll be interesting to go look at the Mitch Brightwiser's Instagram and see if that's true. So,
yeah, I know Norse Saga is doing well on Indiegogo, so that's a book worth promoting. For my money, it's the best comic currently being published.
Oh wow! Okay. Yeah. Until Truth, Justice, and the American Way comes out from me.
Of course. On that day, I will change my opinion.
Right. We'll have you on to officially change it.
And on that
it'll be like Puxatawny Phil. Puxatawny Phil when he sees his shadow. I'm gonna wear a top hat and Mike's gonna wear one. What the fuck is that about? I've wondered since I was a kid. How does a groundhog see his shadow? For those of you who don't know who Puxatawny Phil is, he's a groundhog, and they bring him out to see if there's 6 more weeks of winter. You guys have all heard this, right? That's what Groundhog Day is. But I've always wondered since I was a little kid, how do they know what the groundhog saw? They're not looking through his eyes.
It's almost as if they're putting words in the groundhog's mouth.
Yeah, seriously.
This is all nonsense.
Plus, groundhogs, they can't see like more than 12 inches in front of them anyway. So I don't think a groundhog could even see its shadow.
Yeah, they live in the dark. So
yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, Jimmy Reyes Art. Loads of talent today's panel. And same to you, Jimmy. Jimmy Reyes, I believe, is a master inker. And I think if you are the Jimmy Reyes I'm talking about, you're going to be inking that extra story for Door Kickers because we got it. I had him on my show the other day, and we got it past 15,000. So I hope you're the guy I'm talking about. Otherwise, disregard this comment. But I recognize that name. So where are we? Because I'm all over the place now. I don't remember where we were, gentlemen.
Well, we can always go back to action movies. And once again, I got to say that the 2 Equalizer movies starring Denzel Washington are the very model of what an action movie should be and what a Punisher movie should be, particularly the first one. I mean, you want the Punisher done to perfection, that's it. Just see the Equalizer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to make it a point tonight when I'm done working to go into my living room, get on Amazon Prime, and rent the Equalizer because you've been talking about that nonstop for months now. So it must be excellent. I did see while I was watching the NFL the other day, I saw Black Lives Matter painted in the end zone, which I don't know what it had to do with football. But I did see a commercial for the Equalizer television show starring Queen Latifah. When I think tough and I think blood in the teeth and hard-nosed determination to seek justice, I think of an overweight black woman in her 50s. That's what I always think of.
You know, I tuned in to have my worst fears confirmed, and it was just a whole bunch of talking points from her. You know, it just statements, bold declarations of virtue, I call them. And that was her dialogue.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get back to Queen Latifah. I cross my fingers as a device to tell myself to remember, but I want to address super chats as quickly as possible, usually just to respect the money they spent. Immortal Coil has a question, and he says, I think it's to be artist, the most important thing in inking. Do you guys have any comments on that? Because I know what I think, but do you have any comments, or because I know what I think?
Well, inking is an art, and a good inker has to understand anatomy, perspective, the whole deal. I mean, we all go back to that funny scene in Clerks where you're just a tracer. No, they're not just a tracer. An inker can make or break a pencils.
Right.
Yeah, inkers are like the Jedi masters of comics. I don't know how they do what they do, but Mike's right. A good inker has to be a good artist as well. They've got to be able to draw so they understand what the hell they're doing.
Right. And I'll give the super unsatisfying answer that I give to everyone about everything. It's just repetition. Repetition. Because what happens when you repeat things is you make a lot of mistakes. And I always tell people there's no such thing as failure unless you choose to quit in life. When you do something and it doesn't work, you thank God for the failure, because failure is instructive. Failure teaches you, okay, that pathway, it doesn't work. Now I'll go on this one. Failure doesn't work. And it helps you narrow down. We learn Nassim Nicholas Taleb, the great philosopher, he talks about we learn via negativa in Latin. We learn from the negative more than the positive, because the positive is limitless, what is possible, but what is negative, that is limited. We know not to do this, not to do this. So I would say for inking, get yourself a good Kolinsky brush. That's a sable hair. It's a Russian squirrel, and some nice Higgins black ink, and get yourself some microns and a Hunt 102 crow quill and a stack of paper, and make a shit ton of mistakes for a few years. And then voila, you'll be a master inker overnight in about 7 or 8 short years.
Yes.
So yeah, that's what it'll take. So, and I'll tell you this, what I tell everyone else about success: the time is going to pass anyway. So you can ink for 5, 6, 7 years and be really good, or you can not ink and have nothing to show for the time that's going to pass, guaranteed. So back to the Queenalizer, Queen Latifah. See, the crossed fingers worked. It helped me remember.
There you go.
So who wants to? So you said you saw the first Queen Latifah episode, Mike?
Yeah.
Disappointing or good?
Disappointing.
Shocking.
As I said, they lost sight of job number one, which is to entertain. And instead of the rule number 2 is to show, don't tell. And they forgot that too, because Queen Latifah just walks through the whole thing spouting bumper stickers.
Okay. Someone in here says I miss Old Man Hawk's super chat. I spent over an hour talking to Mike Grell at a convention. He was full of awesome stories. I'm sorry if I missed that. I'll have to go look for it. But go. So I'm a little out of sorts here. Sorry, because I feel bad about missing the super chat. So let me ask you: have you seen this Equalizer yet, Chuck? And if so,
no. I stay a million miles away from that stuff. I mean,
really?
Yeah. I mean, the thing I found out with streaming anything and the network shows and things like that is it's almost always disappointing now, and I'm always sorry I wasted the time. Yeah. So now I've gone on like a 6 months now of only watching movies that I know are good because I've seen them before.
Right.
At the end of the day, who wants to be? I mean, literally at the end of the day, who wants to sit and watch something that at the end you're going to go, my God, I wish I'd watched anything else.
The power of the dog.
That looked like parody. I saw the trailer.
I can't believe I watched the whole thing.
I can't believe I ate the whole thing. But no, that's why in the last year and a half, I've really embraced Van Damme and Seagal and the Rambo movies and all that, because I can't find anything modern to scratch that itch of the masculine desire for adventure and excitement and overcoming, danger and high odds. They just don't do it anymore.
They're few.
I want to get your take on this, because they're the most successful movies of all time, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think there's 25, 26 movies. I've only seen 5 or 6 because I can't stand these fucking movies. They're the most insecure, insincere, virtue signaling like characterization, where I feel like the whole movie, Captain America and Iron Man are going like, get it, elbowing me in the ribs. Like they can't just be cool with themselves. Everything they say and do, they say it, then they look around to see if everyone is applauding what they said instead of just saying what they think. I cannot stand the insincerity in the comedy of those. What do you guys say? Am I wrong?
Well, I don't know. I haven't watched many Marvel movies. Certainly, I've probably only seen like 5 or 6. I have to say that Captain America: Winter Soldier is very good. It's my favorite of all the Marvel movies. But I see this stuff coming out, and I just have no interest in it. Although I might watch Spider-Man: No Way Home when it comes out on DVD. I'll get it from the library.
I heard that was excellent, but they didn't throw in SJW leftist nonsense. My son saw it and he said it was amazing. What about you, Chuck? What do you think of do you know what I'm talking about? Or do you even agree about that whole insecure, insincerity humor in the Marvel movies? I hate it so much.
Yeah, it's like they throw it in because they feel it has to be there. Like, some screenwriting computer program told them you've got to have some, wacky humor in here. But, I mean, the only Marvel movies I really like and will rewatch, I like the first Iron Man movie because it has some heart to it. And I like the Ant-Man movies just because they're just fun movies.
Okay, yeah.
I'm glad to see the Spider-Man movie, not because I have any interest in it, but I'm glad to see the new Spider-Man movie making a lot of money because it's not woke.
That's right.
And will they learn the lesson? No. I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I'd love to think so. Let me address the super chat here because I always want to respect them. Old Man Hawk says for $5, thank you so much. I spent over an hour talking to my girl at a convention. He was full of awesome stories. Here's one for relating to me, talking about how I've switched to just watching old stuff. George Alvarez says, yep, my dad has resorted to watching black and white television like The Rifleman. I discovered The Rifleman about a month and a half ago, right before I had you and Grandma on. Remember, Chuck?
Right.
What a fantastic show.
It's a great show. Really, it's my favorite TV show of all time, hands down.
Yeah, I like it quite a bit. My favorite TV show is Little House on the Prairie. I absolutely adore that show.
Can't fault you.
What a wholesome show. Charles Ingalls, he always has you like on the edge of tears like that. And he gets those big watery eyes, and they have these huge, swelling, heartfelt moments. It's a great show. They really do. Let's see. Mike Barron is correct. Oh, no. Mike Barton is correct. That's what
I look up to Mike Barton.
That autocorrect guy. One time I wrote your name with two R's or 2 N's or something. So let me check them on. And there was another question in here. Some more comments just relating to us. Apex says latest Spider-Man movie with Sony was great. So they're agreeing with you, Chuck. And again, my son, he's 22. Oh, his birthday's coming up. Said it was fantastic. Let's see what else. Oh, Andy Griffith's show. I loved that as a kid. Sorry, I'm just checking through that. And that is Zeno the Stoic. I watched the Andy Griffith show. What else do we got in here in the chat? I thought there was something else I saw. Someone wanted to know about a book you wrote about the Great Depression, Chuck. Let me find that comment. But here it is. Hervoya says, what's the name of the book Chuck worked on? It's about the Great Depression. What are we talking about?
It's The Forgotten Man. It's Amity Schlee's History of the Great Depression. And I adapted it to a graphic novel, Paul Revauche on art.
Very cool.
It's still in print, still out there.
And what's the name of that again? The Forgotten Man?
It's called The Forgotten Man.
Okay, very cool. For $5, Son of Liberty Radio says, back Thin Blue Line 2 times. Second time for the artist edition. Mike needs to promote that more. Come on, Mike.
Thank you, Son of Liberty. Well, Thin Blue Line is a story of 2 police officers trying to survive the night in a riot-torn city. It's pure drama. There's no lecturing. There's no preaching. It will grab you by the throat on the first page, and you won't be able to put it down. It's one of the best stories you're going to read all year. It's just pure drama and excitement. Now, naturally, this was inspired by real events, and I don't hesitate to point out the bad guys, but I understand show don't tell.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're not bashing people over the head going, feminists and left-wingers are idiots.
No. I have such a wide range of humanity in the book that you're going to see it from a lot of different points of view. But the main point of view is from our protagonist, Valeria Baca, who's a young mother with a child and also a police officer. She's divorced, and she gets called in to protect the mayor because they're anticipating demonstrations. Well, as soon as they get downtown, a riot breaks out, and it just takes off like a freight train from there.
Cool.
Hey, let me play the trailer for Thin Blue Line really quick. Okay, that's what's
If you must.
That's what's under this play button, right, Mike? Not a bunch of racial epithets. If I hit play on your side here,
No, it's
oh,
fine.
Oh, how
It's clean.
disappointing. Okay, I'm going to play that real quick, and then we'll jump back to
Okay. All right.
Beginning with issue number 1, Mike Barron wrote Marvel's The Punisher for over 5 years, approaching it as a straight crime comic, without any superheroes, aliens, or robots. Over the course of 60 issues, Barron elevated the gritty anti-hero into one of the most popular and enduring characters in the Marvel Comics universe. Now he brings that same ultra-realistic intensity to his latest graphic novel, Thin Blue Line. In the middle of a long, hot summer, a police shooting ignites a city. Activists, opportunists, and provocateurs descend to riot, loot, burn, and kill. Thin Blue Line follows Officer Valeria Baca and her partner as their detail guarding the mayor turns into a battle for survival. Ride along on this harrowing tale of 2 brave law enforcement officers fighting for their community and their own survival in a world gone mad. Eisner winner Mike Barron has created an alarming tale that unflinchingly examines human fallibility on every level. Along with penciler Joe Arnold, himself a full-time police officer, and talented inker Jeff Slemons, they've created a moving and entertaining story ripped straight from today's headlines. Thin Blue Line exposes the defund the police movement and its consequences for society, but several comic book companies have refused to publish it. Now we're asking you to join the effort to distribute it independently and help support the men and women of law enforcement. Get your copy of the only graphic novel to offer an unflinching and not always flattering look at the men and women of law enforcement during a time when we need them the most. Not all heroes wear capes. It's a thin blue line between the rule of law and a world of chaos. Which side are you on? Thin Blue Line by Mike Barron. Order now on Indiegogo.
Very cool. Very cool.
That's a great trailer.
Yeah, someone in the comments wanted me to go find the artist edition. Is that on here, or is that just on Kickstarter, Mike?
I think it might just be on Kickstarter for now, but I'm not sure.
We have this limited black and white. Is that it?
Yeah, there it is. That's it.
Nice.
Let's see.
Ken.
Very cool.
Dan Lawless. Dan and I are going to be doing something soon. Dan wants to know if that's Sam Elliott narrating the video. Yes, it is. We were lucky to get Sam.
When I heard it, I thought that sounds a little like Sam Elliott. And then I thought, I wonder if you could pay for a cameo, that internet thing where you could pay a celebrity to say something. You could just write out a little bit of stuff for your thing, and then I wonder if you could do that. Is that cheating? I don't know. Apex Comics, you commented in here that you sent me a super chat, and I'm sorry I've missed it, dude. I don't want to do that to you. I'm scrolling around looking for it, but I don't see it. I really apologize, man. If I can find it, I will definitely read it. But just know, if you want to write the comment again, I will treat it as a super chat. Don't pay again, obviously, but I don't want to disrespect the super chat ever. So please just write whatever you said again and write that this was a super chat for how much. I'm really sorry. I just don't see it. It's not on my screen. So, Mike, that book looks awesome. I'm so happy for you, dude, because when I saw Thin Blue Line, it was at $9,000. And, it just wasn't doing good. And I'm so happy that you've joined like Comicsgate Kings on Mondays.
Me too, Gabe. I want to thank you for all your support.
Hey, I tell everyone, you got me into comics professionally drawing them. So I don't forget that. I'm loyal. How many years ago was that, man?
Too. Chuck has been helping me a lot through the lean years. And fortunately, the lean years are in my rearview mirror. But Chuck was there for me.
Well, I owed you a debt. As I always said, Mike set the bar in the 80s for comics. So I spent my whole career trying to reach that bar.
I gotta take off, guys. Thank you for having me on. I cede my time to Chuck and Gabe.
Okay.
All right. Have a good one, Mike. Get some sleep.
Yeah. Get some sleep, friend. So, and then this cover's unlocked, guys. Since it got over 25,000, the Sergio Cariello cover is unlocked. So that's awesome.
Cool.
I have a guest coming into here. Oh, here's the comment.
Oh, I was just
Oh, my wife was bringing me her phone. Thank you, wife. And it says Apex Comics for $2. Remember Edward Woodward? I want. Remember Ed Woodward, Equalizer from the '80s? Do you know about that, Chuck? Because I don't.
Oh yeah, the original TV series with Edward Woodward, which was pretty good for the first couple of seasons, and then they began to wuss out.
I wonder if that's on Amazon or anything like that.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure it's streaming somewhere. It has to. I think it was on for like 4 seasons. Yeah, I stopped watching when they had an episode about a child molester. And instead of shooting him, he just yelled at him.
Jeez. Yeah. What we were talking about, coming full circle here, on the original Death Wish, the rape and assault at the beginning is so disturbing that you're completely fine with him just smoking these criminals later in the movie. When he just pulls his gun out and just shoots people, you're like, yeah, it makes sense. You know, I could see it. So
there's something in that movie that a lot of people miss, and it's when, I don't know if it's the first or second mugger he runs into, and he's at the top of that set of steel steps.
Right.
And he's standing there, and the guy at the bottom is like, what do you want? What do you want? And Bronson just says, draw. In the musical soundtrack, there's a little hint of his theme from Once Upon a Time in the West.
Really?
So, yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool if you catch it. It's whoever did that was a genius.
Very cool. Yeah, it just, I don't know. I saw it last week just on a whim because I work all day. I lift weights. I'm a busy guy, wife, 2 kids, and I've got kids in their early 20s, so they're getting off the ground right now. My daughter's a stand-up comedian of all things, and she's been one since she was 16. She's 24 now, and my son is a big time. He's doing big time corporate real estate, so I'm really happy. They're 24 and 22, and they're getting off the ground right now. It's really something to watch. And I forgot where I was going with that. I was going to relate it back to action, but I'm sorry. I'll remember in a minute here. But we got a good comment here from TC. Mr. Majestic, The Mechanic, Death Wish, Once Upon a Time in the West are at the top of the Bronson repeat watch list.
Oh yeah.
I've never seen movies. Mr. Majestic, but I'll have to check that out for sure.
Oh, Mr. Majestic's awesome. Stay away from my melons.
Yeah,
he's a melon farmer who's a badass melon farmer. Another good one is Breakout. Where he's Bronson gets to be a little bit more comedic.
Well, that is one of the great things about all the algorithms on these websites. Once the website realizes you like something, it just starts feeding you more and more of it. You know what I mean?
And another thing on Death Wish is you should read the novel it's based on, because the ending of the novel is brilliant. And no one's ever done anything like it.
I didn't know for a fact there was a book, but I have this thing in me when I watch a movie, I can tell when it was a book.
Yeah,
I remember the first time I saw Wonder Boys, the Michael Chabon novel.
Yeah,
it was one of my favorite movies. I didn't know there was a book. I didn't know Michael Chabon existed. And when Tobey Maguire says it's the kind of house you'd want to wake up in on Christmas morning in the movie, I said, no, that's too literary. This must have been a book. And then I went and looked it up. I'm like, oh, it was a book for sure. I don't want to sidetrack from what you were about to say about Bronson, but Wonder Boys and all of Michael Chabon's work, beautiful work. Amazing work. I love his stuff. So.
But the end of the Death Wish novel is chilling. It's an unforgettable ending.
Okay. I'll have to get that on audiobook. I listen to so many audiobooks while I draw and color and all that stuff. So very good. Here, Hervoye, thank you so much. You are just such a wonderful help here. He put Chuck's Great Depression book, The Forgotten Man, an Amazon link there for those of you that want to check that out. Okay. Have you seen this? We're just going to go through Charles Bronson and Charles Dixon. Oh, I see the connection now. I see the connection.
Well, and we're both from Pennsylvania.
So. Wait a minute. Have you two ever been seen in the same room shooting a rapist right in the face?
Oh, God.
Do you know about this White Buffalo, and is it worth my time? I suspect.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. The White Buffalo Effect is a little disappointing, but it's it's a mountain man flick with Bronson. So anything with Bronson is a good movie.
Okay, and have you seen Death Sentence? People want to know.
I read the book Death Sentence. Yeah, it was pretty good. It was a follow up to the novel. It was pretty good. It wasn't nothing can top that ending of the first novel.
And I wasn't listening fully. The novel is also called Death Wish, or does it have a different
Yeah,
name?
it's also called Death Wish. It's by Brian Garfield.
Oh,
he
it
was,
said that in the opening credits. I remember making a note of the name Garfield and how British that name is.
No, he's an American and it's very prolific novel writer, westerns and action stuff.
Okay. Leg Kick One says, Gabe, I'll tell you to Chuck, wasn't it John Romita who drew the Punisher concept? If so, why does Conway say anything?
Yeah. Romita was the original. He designed the Punisher costume, and Conway, it's like, I created the Punisher. Okay, but you didn't create the Punisher we know today. The Punisher was a one-off Spider-Man villain, and totally taken from Mac Bolan the Executioner, the series of paperback novels that were so popular at the time.
I mean, Conway is a 75-year-old man that dyes his hair orange. So.
I don't want to say anything bad about Jerry because, he's in the TV business now, and you've got to say the right things to survive in that business. So,
okay, well, compromise forever, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. If that was his choice, I'm not going to say anything about it. So he's got to say, "Oh, I hate the military and police using Punisher because I hate the military and police."
Oh,
so
King KDI for £5. That's nice, right? That's what that little L means, pounds. Are there any novels you'd want to make into a comic? This is for you, Chuck, probably.
Okay.
That you would wish to work on, or would you like to work in Tinseltown?
I would not want to work in Tinseltown. I've been to Tinseltown. I couldn't wait to leave Tinseltown. So I've been in production meetings and all the rest of it, and it's the weirdest place on earth. As far as novels, I'd like to turn into a comic. There's a novel called The Cowboy and the Cossack. It's by Claire Huffaker. If you can ever find it, it's an amazing book about a cattle drive, a Texas cattle drive across Tsarist Russia. In the 1870s. It's freaking amazing. And it's been optioned for movies over and over and over again, but nobody's made it.
Very cool. That made me think of an adventure book called River of Doubt. It's the story of Teddy Roosevelt, his son Kermit, and the Brazilian general, and they are mapping the Rio de Dubia, the River of Doubt in the Amazon, to lay some telegraph lines. And it's a true story, and it is a thriller and pulse pounding, and the ending of that, oh my gosh, I forgot the lady's name who wrote it, but River of Doubt is a recent book, came out in the last 5-10 years, I think. Fantastic book. And you reminded me of it, talking about going across Russia on a cattle drive, and these men going down the Amazon and having to carve new dugout boats from trees because their boats keep getting destroyed by the rapids. And, all of the men they hired to help them dying and getting sick and going over the waterfalls. And what happens to President Roosevelt? He wasn't president at the time, obviously, but the stuff that happens is an insane, dangerous adventure,
Teddy Roosevelt was Batman. I mean,
he's my favorite president. I worked on Adam Glass is the writer. He did a lot of Supernatural. He has a book or a movie called or a TV show out In From the Cold on Netflix, debuting any day now. He wrote like Teen Titans and a lot of stuff. We did Rough Riders at what is the name of that comic book company? I forget. Mike Martz is the editor in chief there. Aftershock Comics.
Oh, okay.
Rough Riders is like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. It's Annie Oakley, Harry Houdini, Jack Johnson, Teddy Roosevelt, and Thomas Edison. Cool. And they're a super team, and they go on like steampunk adventures, and there's some crime, and there's some aliens, and all kinds. It's really fun, turn of the century stuff. And that working on that book and learning about Teddy Roosevelt made me fall in love with what a man, what an absolute man he was. And he's kind of Batman in that comic. Check that out too. Rough Riders from Aftershock. Let's see. Hervoye says the Cowboy and the Cossack was supposed to be a Clint and Chuck movie. Really?
Which Chuck?
What Chuck are we talking about? We talking about Charles Bronson?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I had heard that too, that Bronson was going to play the Cossack chieftain.
He has that look. He has that Eastern European
look. Because he is. I mean,
he's like, isn't he like Bulgarian or something like that?
He's Polish extraction, but, there's a lot of Hun in his blood, obviously, from the way he looks.
Right.
But, it was also optioned by James Caan I think in the 80s, but just never got made.
Very cool. Very cool. Let's see. Beard Gasmatron says Rough Riders is great. Picked up the hardcover when it came out. Well, thank you so much. I don't get any royalties, but thank you anyway.
Oh,
I only have my
royalties. I wouldn't know what that was like.
I had royalties. I have royalty deals with Marvel and DC, so I still get those. So,
yeah, but you don't get international royalties from DC, do you? And you're supposed to.
Oh, I don't. I don't know.
I've been a thorn in their side for years about it. In 2009, they stopped sending out international royalties, and it's like, hey, this is in my contracts. And so I've been, whenever I can speak out about it, I do, and that's why I'm mentioning it.
I would say, hurry up and send my royalties, guys. It's already January 12th, and a few of my friends have already gotten theirs in the last week.
Yeah, I got the notice yesterday. So
let's go. Yeah, I guess I should check my email this morning and see if I got it. So
yeah.
So is this is a nosy question, so you can tell me to fuck off. Is Bain still paying you for creating that? Is that how that works? Okay.
Yeah. I'll twice a year, so I'll be getting another check in a couple of weeks. In fact, I'm glad to hear that. It's the publication royalty check that went out first. So.
Okay, very cool. Oh yeah, because the amounts probably
because of the amounts.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to a pretty big royalty any day now from DC. So. They're going to buy my wife something else nice. They already bought her a really nice wedding anniversary stuff in November. So,
yeah, every once in a while I get a Marvel check, and I basically can get a pizza with all the topping, and that's about it.
I got a funny Marvel royalty thing, and I've told it before online, but I'll tell it again. I worked on the Star Wars relaunch in 2011 or 2014 or something with Brian Wood and Carlos de Anda. I was the color artist on that. And 3 months later, Marvel bought Star Wars, or Disney bought Star Wars. So we did 2 years of Star Wars, and then everything went over to Marvel, and they republished everything I did Marvel, and I didn't know that. So I got a Facebook message in 2014 from someone I didn't know. So it went into that folder of messages that you can't see unless you click and click.
Yeah.
So in 2019, in July, I just happened to be on Facebook, which I'm not on much, and I click on that folder of unread messages. There's a 5-year-old message from Marvel telling me they owe me royalties for Star Wars.
Wow.
So I call them up, email, fill out the Disney paperwork. And they sent me like $3,000. They had owed me that for like 5 years. It was nice.
Wow.
It was a nice surprise.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, the biggest check I ever got was from Marvel for Punisher Warzone #1. But apparently they've reconfigured net receipts. So checks I get now are, if I get a 3-figure check, it's rare. They're all like literally Mickey Mouse checks. Mickey Mouse is on the check, and the amount is Mickey Mouse.
Here you go, Chuck.
Something for the effort.
Right. Gorge, thank you. Antonio Lucas Arajo de Medeiros Calixto. I really hope that's your real name. That is fantastic, my friend.
Yes.
I love your work, Chuck. Really enjoyed Alt Hero Q when Super Prumo released here in Brazil.
Yep.
So very cool. Yeah, I checked out Alt Hero. I read like the first 10 of those, and that's a fascinating premise. And that's on Archaven, right? I think Herboye put that in the chat. Let me go in the private chat and grab that. Copy link address, and I'm going to post that in the regular chat.
Cool.
So there's Archaven. That's to the big website, and then you can find Chuck's stuff in there. That's the link that Chuck put in our private chat. King KDI, Disney must pay, and they did pay. Yeah. For those of you that don't know, that are dreaming of working for Marvel and DC, DC pays way better. Marvel / Disney, they are notorious in the business for being very cheap, and they are, in my experience.
Oh yeah, so, they hold back a lot of cash.
Yeah, DC actually on the money end. I mean, none of the companies pay you enough considering what they're making from television and movies and fruit roll-ups and everything they sell with the characters that we draw and write.
Right.
But so none of them pay you enough, but DC pays a lot more than Marvel, to be honest. So
yeah, and back in the day, you could call and say, "Hey, I created that," and they'd send you a check. It's much more corporate now. So informal back then.
Right. Oh, here we go. Here's a better link from Hervoye. Archaven Comics author, and it says the legend, and that must be referring to you.
Yes,
the legend. Not unlike the Sasquatch.
Yes. For my sins, Vox Day has dubbed me the legend, and apparently it's stuck.
I like that. Like the Sasquatch, only a little hairier, right?
Yeah, that's it. Maybe a little
Son of Liberty Radio alleges that Disney is being sued right now for royalties to Star Wars movies. I do like how I think I could have this wrong. Don't quote me on this. Like Marvel, Disney, they're suing Steve Ditko's family and suing Stan Lee's family. Like they're trying to preemptively stop them from getting royalties. And I do think that's what's behind some of the race swapping and the gay Superman and all that. I do think it isn't just SJW stuff. It's also to like, oh, this is a different character. We don't have to give royalties on this. I do think that. I allege
it absolutely is. I mean, that's at some point when they were in the middle of the Kirby lawsuit, the Kirby family lawsuit, they changed a lot of the characters, and that's going back to the 90s. They changed appearances and things like that. So they do that all the time, and they got lawyers hanging on hooks just waiting to go after people. So. Good luck.
I actually saw it in my head like a meat locker in the jar.
Seriously, they're just sitting waiting, and it's okay. You go after them, and and if you sue them, good luck, because they'll just slow walk you to the end of time.
Right. They got these guys on retainer, and they'll just, you're right, and you should win in court, but they're going to put you through 7 years of court, and you'll run out of money. So.
Yeah, I mean, I sued one of the companies, and I had the guy who got Tim Allen his home improvement money. So and they worked on contingency, so I didn't have to pay them. So the company realized they can't wait me out because these lawyers I have are just going to keep coming and coming and coming. So we settled, but still, they'll try to jip you every way they can.
Yeah, and I think that's.
Oh, I'm sorry, you can't say jip anymore.
Oh, whatever. you can here. I don't care. I don't care. And anyone that cares, sorry.
Yeah, I don't care either. But
suck it up, Buttercup. Alan Dean Foster wrote a bunch of Star Wars novels before the Disney purchase, and they stopped paying his royalties, and he's going after them.
Yeah,
I read that online, and I hope he gets every freaking cent from Mickey.
Yeah, because that one book's never been out of print. Splinter of the Mind's Eye. I mean,
right? Because it's the true sequel, right?
Yeah,
Doesn't it take place before Empire and after A New Hope, right? It's the real
exactly, and it's sold millions of copies around the world. I mean, the guy deserves every cent.
Yeah. So I remember seeing that as a kid. I never read it. I was always fascinated to read it, but I've always been disappointed with everything besides the original 3 movies, so I stayed away from it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I was a huge Star Wars fan until the Ewoks showed up. So,
you have to understand. When I saw the Ewoks, I was 5 years old.
Yeah,
so they hit you.
Yeah, the Ewoks were for you.
Yeah, they were for me. They were, yeah. So, and then when I was an adult and I saw like Jar Jar Binks and all that, I'm like, oh, this is why people didn't like the
Ewoks. You felt my pain.
You're right, yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, is there anything else you wanted to promote, Chuck, or what do you got going? I know we're doing Two-Fisted Manly Tales, you and Dave Williams and I, but what else you got cooking? You got your archive and stuff? What else is going on?
Levon Cade novels, which I just found out are available through Walmart.com. So
is that in our private chat? Let me go look.
It might be. And I got the 10th novel is going to be coming out soon. Levon's Prey.
And can you give us a quick rundown of who Levon Cade is?
Well, Mike and I both want to scratch that Punisher itch, and we can't do it anymore. So Levon Cade, he's a former Marine, former like Delta Force, Phoenix Force kind of guy. He's living in Alabama. He's burnt out. He's got a young daughter he's raising. His wife died of cancer, but guy just can't stay out of trouble. He just can't ride around difficulties, and of course that creates more and more problems for him. So in the current 3 books, he's been going after a cabal of child human traffickers, perverts. Well, and he shoots them all in the head whenever he gets a chance.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll get some of this right here.
Yeah, no, there's plenty of that. There's
plenty of that. In the 3rd one where he wipes out the child molesters with a crew-served weapon. When I saw that in Death Wish 3, I was like, this is ridiculous, and I love it.
Yeah. The movies go off the rails in a good way.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I love that he's holding the barrel there so he can burn his fingers eventually.
Yeah, I just wish he had like the leather pad or the mitt that they would use.
Right. That cooking glove.
Right.
Yeah.
But Bronson's so tough, he doesn't need it.
He doesn't need it. That gun, he's hurting the barrel of the gun. That's how badass he is.
Oh man.
Oh man. So what time? Okay. Well, we've been going for an hour here. If there's anything else you want to promote, let me know. I'm going to get out of here. I got 2 pages and a cover to work on today.
Yeah, I got some writing. I got some writing to do. But thanks for having me on, and let's do it again soon.
Okay. It's always more fun. Yeah. And the next time you come on, Bane will make an appearance. Yeah, for those of you that want to go back in the catalog, Bane was on last time I was here with Chuck and Graham.
Yeah, he's a surprise guest.
Yeah, surprise guest. Bane was here. Okay, thank you all for watching. Check out all the links that have been in the chat and for Mike. And you can find Mike and Chuck on Facebook and Twitter for sure. I don't know if you're on Instagram.
No, maybe I am. I don't know. I'm not actively on it.
That's where you have your account with bikinis and all that.
That's it. That's it.
So, yeah, they're on Facebook. They're on Twitter. Check them out. A lot of great projects going on. I will have the sign-up list for my new book, Truth, Justice, and the American Way. We're going to take that back, guys. We're going to take back fun, exciting superhero books. Hit the like on this video and just share it out. Just hit that share button at the bottom of YouTube. Just share it to your Twitter or Facebook. That's not a big thing to ask, right, guys? So thank you so much. I'll have Chuck and Mike on again. We'll get Graham back in. A lot of high tea going on here. Tonight, I'm doing Double Impact with Shanthan Jetty at 8 p.m. Pacific. We're going to be talking about Death Wish in depth. So Double Impact is our Wednesday night show where we talk 80s and 90s action. Thank you so much for joining me, Chuck, and thank you, chat. All right, bye, guys.